Howdy everyone, my name is Avram Plager and welcome back to my Blender tutorials. Today we'll be going over the Edit tab in Blender. So to begin, you'll open like you normally would a general editing tab. So you'll click Shift A on your keyboard to add in a mesh, and we'll go into Icosphere. Going into your mesh allows you to open up your tab here. You can select Icosphere there. Now what we'll do is we'll keep this as is. We'll make this a little bit larger to help us with editing. And we'll keep all of the other tabs like they are. We'll go into edit mode here. And now you can see we have a whole bunch of different options. If you're not making any edits, I would recommend that you go to the top here and click select. This allows you to not make any edits accidentally. Pay attention to this top portion here. You can select vertices, edges, or faces. If you shift click, as I did previously, you can select multiple, or you can just use a plain click, and that will automatically select only one. For right now, since we're doing all the editing that we'll do in this tutorial, we'll select all three. To begin, you have extrude region. Extrude region takes a face and shifts it upward. This is proportional to the orientation of that face and not to the origin or your work plane. You can also set proportional editing, which takes a whole lot of the other faces with it. You can select smooth or sphere. There's a whole lot of other options that I'll show in the future, but for right now, I would either select smooth or sphere. We'll go with smooth for now. You can also make this a little bit more proportional or a little bit less proportional. Since this is a relatively small portion, the proportional size doesn't really matter. So now we'll go off and we'll select some of these faces. Again, since we don't want to extrude, we'll go to our select feature. And now we'll go to our next feature, which is inset faces. Inset faces allows you to create a face relative to the faces that you selected. If you just selected one face, then it'll just inset that specific face. But if you selected multiple, it'll create a polygon relative to those faces, and then inset based on that. Now you can see, you can set a thickness or a depth, but since we don't have any more edits, this really doesn't make a change. Now we can choose bevel. What bevel does is it takes multiple faces, as we'll see here. You can use your left mouse button to drag and select a box of faces. And now what bevel does is it creates a bevel, as shown here, and it smooths faces uniformly. This is good if you want neat surface patterns that will appease the viewer's eye. You can select how many segments you'd like. This is good for sculpting if you want multiple segments, but we'll keep this with a relatively low number, such as 4. You can select the width of these bevels. And as you can see, the more width we have, the smoother that this face is. Our shape allows us to edit proportional to our shape and how much of the shape we want to keep. So shifting outwards creates a positive reflex of our shape, and shifting inwards creates a negative reflex of our shape. We'll keep this roughly in the middle, since we don't want that to make too much of a change. And this is all we'll do for now. As you can see, this made this relatively smooth, and with a uniform surface pattern. This is important, as you'll see in future Blender tutorials, where we go into sculpting. This bevel tool is a very important tool that you'll use. Loop cut allows you to make a cut along a specific loop. So as you can see, if we select our shape here, it creates a cut that is uniform along all of our axes. If we just want it along a single circle, we can go here, and you'll see it creates a preview. So just shift around your mouse until you get the shape that you want. For now, we'll go to this face to show a relatively smooth feature of it. You can also create this along an edge and move it around. As you can see, this makes multiple edits that will then sequentially get more symmetrical and make the shape a little bit smoother. You also have your knife, which allows you to make specific cuts that are custom. So we'll make a hole here where we want it, all the way around. And now you can see if we highlight over our initial point there and press enter on our keypad, now we have a custom cut made. This is also good for our bevel feature. If we want to make multiple cuts along our bevel, clicking and holding allows you to move the knife while cutting, and it automatically clicks on edges to make those vertices of cuts. Clicking enter now gives us our custom shape there. Going on, we can see polybuild. Polybuild allows us to take specific vertices and move them around relative to our viewpoint. You also have spin, which allows you to extrude a region, and only in vertices. Take note, this only extrudes vertices out. I'll show you where this would be useful in a future tutorial, but as you can see, it makes roughly a circle. You can also select out from that end point. You can also rotate it. But for now, since we're not using that tool, we'll press Ctrl Z on our keyboard twice to redo that change. You can use smooth, and what the smooth feature does is it allows you to select multiple faces on your shape and smooth them so that they're all symmetric, and it basically, what it does is it takes a graph of all of your faces and it smooths them out automatically. You can see this does create some problems, so be careful with this tool when you're using it. I recommend for the most part that you don't use this tool because it can create a lot more problems than it solves. You also have edge slide, which allows you to take a face and slide it along a certain edge. This edge is automatically made, so again, be careful with this tool when you're making edits. You can shrink or fatten a face, and this goes with many features along with it. It doesn't just edit that face. Again, this is a fairly tricky tool to use, and I don't often use it. So I would recommend you stay away from the edge slide, the shrink and fatten tool, and the shear tool. The shear tool, again, is a fairly complicated tool to use that I don't find myself using a lot. But I do find myself using this tool right here, which is called Rip Region. Rip Region takes a specific vertice, and as you can see, it can't rip faces. But if you select an edge or vertice, it can rip that vertice out. It creates a duplicate of that vertice and takes the faces and cuts them. So as you can see, we have a hole in our object there. This is good if you're custom remeshing a shape. And as you can see, remeshing is just a simple process of taking edges and making faces out of them. So you see we can select our edge there, shift click to select another edge, and we'll go back up and select our select button, and this allows us to not be hindered by our edit regions. And now with our two edges selected, we'll press F on our keyboard to make a face there. And now you can select all three edges that you custom made and press F again to make another face. Remeshing is a very simple process, and it's very essential to 3D modeling and Blender in general. I hope this is a good overview of how to use the Blender Edit tab. And like Tinkercad, make sure you're using this at home and you're playing around with all the features. I would recommend, however, that you balance that with my videos. Use my videos to help you, but definitely go home and work around with Blender yourself. In my next tutorial, I'll cover sculpting, which is in turn with edit mode. Please make sure you like and subscribe, because 3D printing and 3D modeling and CAD design are essential tools in any industry. It doesn't matter whether you're more technical, whether you're more artistic, 3D modeling and CAD design are essential tools. So please like and subscribe and share this channel with your friends and family.